Joy Lab.
Hi, I'm Tonya. When I buy buttermilk for recipes, this is the smallest container I can get. It's a quart. It's 4 cups. But most recipes with buttermilk just take 3/4 of a cup, a half a cup, maybe 1 cup of buttermilk. What do I do with all the rest of this buttermilk? Use your freezer. In this series of videos, I'm going to show you 2 recipes on what to do with your excess buttermilk and how you can use your freezer to extend the life of your buttermilk so you don't have to waste it. When we travel, I like to do some research ahead of time. What is the local food not to avoid? What is the one thing that the locals eat and serve that I want to be a part of? Maybe it's biscuits and gravy. Maybe it's a particular type of pizza. When we went to visit a little town in Tennessee called Franklin, the thing not to miss is tiny little donuts. It's a food truck, and that's what they serve, tiny little donuts. Inside the food truck, they have the machine making the little donuts, flipping them in the oil to the other side, dumping them out to cool, and then they put them in a paper cardboard container about this size, just a load of them, and ask you what flavor you want. Lemon, chocolate, maple, vanilla, and they drizzle the lemon, chocolate, maple, or vanilla on top of the tiny little donuts. We loved them. Came home from Franklin, Tennessee, and I wanted more tiny little donuts. So I looked for a baked donut recipe because I don't need to fry donuts all the time. And maybe I can get the essence of tiny little donuts with a baked donut. And I found a recipe, and I'm going to show you that right now. And it uses buttermilk, which is perfect for our video. Our first recipe in our 2 video series is the recipe for tiny little donuts, Tonya's version. In our mixing bowl, we're going to put our 5 tablespoons of butter, 1 egg, 1/4 cup of both sugars, white sugar and brown sugar. And you know that you're supposed to pack brown sugar, make it nice and condensed to make sure that you're getting the right amount of brown sugar. And 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I'll put this on the mixer and be right back. Add 3/4 cup buttermilk and then mix it again. Now we add our dry ingredients. 1 1/4 cup of flour, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Back to the mixer. Our batter is all ready. Now, I do not have a baked donut pan. They come in full size, big donut size, and they come in mini donut size. That's what they serve in the tiny little donuts food truck in Franklin, Tennessee, that are so wonderful. The small donuts, but of course they're frying them. They have the bloop machine, bloop, bloop, bloop. Yeah, that's what it's technically called, the bloop machine. And it's dropping the round, small mini donuts into the hot oil. We're baking our donuts. I don't have a tiny donut pan. You can buy them, but I just don't have one. Instead, I'm going to use my mini muffin pan. These are wonderful for the right size for my version of tiny little donuts. You don't want your donuts to stick. Baker's Joy. I'm not a spokesmodel for Baker's Joy, but this is the only version of oil with flour that I ever use. It's the best and it really works. And I'm not a spokesmodel, but if you click the link below, I do get a few pennies for every one you buy through my affiliate link for Amazon. Baker's Joy. You could spray with oil and then put flour on and shake it all around and then shake off the extra flour, and I've done that before. Not since I found Baker's Joy. Baker's Joy, it's a baker's friend. I sound like a spokesmodel. I am not. But this is the best spray flour and oil that I've ever found and I've ever used. It always makes me cough though. Isn't that cool? Look at that. It's all covered. All the surfaces are covered with the flour mixed in with the oil already. So fast and easy. And I didn't even cough that time. Back spray. Usually I do it over the kitchen sink because now I have all my things to clean. Well, now you're wondering, well, Tonya, why is this a freezer meal? I'm going to tell you how this is a freezer meal. This much batter makes 24 tiny little donuts. I'm only going to bake 12 of them today, and the other 12 I'm going to put in the freezer for later. And I'll show you how that works. Oh, here it comes. Sorry about that. I'm not sick, it's just from the Baker's Joy. It makes a woman cough. This is my favorite way to make cookies even and muffins even. Get a variety of these sized ice cream scoops. This is a tablespoon, and I will put 1 tablespoon in each of the tiny mini muffin pan. So fast and easy and clean. With freezer meals, the whole goal is to front load your work so you have no mess and no stress at dinner time. You don't want to be doing all this mixing and making and baking when your guests are waiting for breakfast, since donuts are breakfast food. Instead, I'll show you what to do to make them a freezer meal. I'm going to bake this one now, and I'm going to freeze this raw batter in this tin for later. I'm going to bake these at 350 for 9 to 11 minutes. You have to watch it because they're so small they can burn really quickly. You want to make it so when you tap on them they spring back. When you tap on the top they spring back, then you know that your muffins are ready. These are going into the oven. These are going into the freezer just like this. Don't they look cute? They're still hot in the pan. We're going to let them cool in the pan for 10 minutes. I'm making up the sauce, the glaze. Tiny Little Donuts in Franklin, Tennessee. That food truck has a wonderful assortment of glazes that you can choose to put on top of your Tiny Little Donuts. The Tiny Little Donuts are all the same. It's the glaze that changes up the flavor. So when I'm making Tonya's version of Tiny Little Donuts, the baked little muffin ones, I also need to have a different glaze for my different options. This is a tablespoon of milk and a half cup of powdered sugar. Mix that up together as I already have here. This one I will add some vanilla to just make it a plain glaze, vanilla glaze. And here I'm adding some cocoa powder. And this one will be the maple glaze. Some of you like maple donuts. Ooh, that's pretty. It's just powdered sugar, milk, no cocoa powder. I could eat it just like that. And the maple glaze. I'll just put a capful. Okay, this is not what I usually do. I usually measure things out carefully when I'm baking, but for speed, just put a capful of vanilla in. Do you have relatives that bake like that? A pinch of this, a pinch of that, a capful, a palm of. It works for some people. Okay, let's see how these guys. Ooh, look at that. One left. Oh, they came out so easy. Baker's joy, the baker's friend in the kitchen. Not a spokesmodel. Again, this is not the tiny little donut recipe. This is my substitute. The way you serve these, substitute tiny little donuts, is you would let people serve themselves and then choose. Oh, I need to thin that with some more milk. Choose which glaze to put on their tiny little donuts. And it's kind of a special treat. And it's also good for portion control. I can just eat two, drizzle them with my chocolate glaze, and be perfectly satisfied. Have a little bit of sweet with my morning coffee. I don't drink coffee. Have a little sweet with a glass of milk in the morning or a glass of orange juice. And I'm taken back to our vacation in Franklin, Tennessee. So good. And if you're ever in Franklin, Tennessee, make sure you hunt down the food truck, Tiny Little Donuts. You'll be so happy that you did. We're waiting for the other tray that's in the freezer, the one with the raw dough, to be ready. I'll see you in a bit for that. Here are our uncooked Tiny Little Donuts, frozen solid. I'm going to pop them out and put them in a freezer baggie that I have prepared. Tiny Little Donuts, and I've written do not thaw. Bake in mini muffin pan, 350 degrees, 9 to 11 minutes. Rest in pan for 10 minutes. Just like the regular ones. Even frozen, they smell delicious. Get these back in the freezer right away. Now, what about the sauces? We have our vanilla glaze, our chocolate glaze, and our maple glaze. You could freeze them in little baggies like this. This is a green seal, which means it is not freezer safe. You'll have to put the 3 baggies of the different glazes in a blue freezer baggie so that it can go in the freezer. To me, it's easy to whip up this glaze while your frozen tiny little donuts are cooking. We've made 2 recipes with my leftover buttermilk, and I still have buttermilk left. I'm not throwing it out. Let me show you yet another way that you can use your freezer to avoid wasting leftover food. We're going to freeze individual servings of buttermilk in this muffin tin. I'm going to first spray it so it's easier for them to come out when they're frozen. Maybe it'll just be 6. I don't know. Tiny little donuts, that recipe took 3/4 of a cup. Brown sugar buttermilk coffee cake took 1 cup. I'm going to freeze this buttermilk in 1/4 cup increments. So if I was going to make tiny little donuts again, I would take 3 frozen buttermilk pellets and let them thaw in the refrigerator overnight, use it in the recipe the next day. If I was making my brown sugar buttermilk coffee cake again, I would take 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup, 4 of them because I need 1 cup to make the brown sugar buttermilk coffee cake. So I'm going to freeze these in 1/4 cup increments. Wow. I don't have to measure anymore. Ooh, look at that, look at that, look at that. 3/4 cup left. Once I freeze them, I can just pop them out, the frozen little buttermilk pucks, and put them in a freezer baggie. And it will take up hardly any space in the freezer, and I will have 3/4 cup of buttermilk whenever I need it in the future. And we did it. We're done. No more buttermilk. Nothing is going to waste. And you know I hate wasting food. We got 2 very delicious recipes out of this. 2 different videos that you should be sure to watch. The brown sugar buttermilk coffee cake and tiny little donuts. And we know what to do with that final bit at the bottom of the buttermilk container. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, if you think you're going to try something, please click subscribe because that helps YouTube know that people want to learn how to have less stress and less mess with freezer meals. I'm Tonya. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Joy Lab. Learning done right. Learn more with Joy Lab. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Visit us at www.joylab.biz. Thank you.